Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about the unsolved murder of Ken Mcelroy. There's just a couple of things that I want to say about this case before we get started. Firstly, this is my first ever unsolved case, so let me know if you enjoyed today's case and whether you prefer solved or unsolved cases. Secondly, this case is highly controversial and you will see why as we begin talking about the case. So for that reason, I'm going to refrain from stating my own personal opinions. I'm just here to tell you guys the facts of the case. You can make your own decisions for yourself. And finally, this case does involve some pretty heavy topics such as child molestation, animal cruelty, and also rape. So if this video isn't going to be suitable for you to listen to, then please look after yourselves. I'm sure I'll see you in another video. With all that said, let's go ahead and jump into today's case. So Ken was born in 1934 and he was the 15th child out of 16. He was born into a poor family and his parents, Tony and Mabel, were tenant farmers. I couldn't find out much about Ken's childhood, but it is said that his family did struggle for money, but Ken's parents did the best that they could in providing for their large family. I did, however, read on one source that when Ken was a young boy, I couldn't find his exact age. He was riding on a hay wagon on his parents' farm when he fell off and hit his head. The injury is said to have been so severe that a steel plate had to be surgically implanted in his head. Now, we see this a lot with violent criminals, where a lot of them have experienced a head injury at a young age, and then they go on to do some pretty nasty things. I actually went on a bit of a tangent in my research as I wanted to look at the link of head injuries to violent behaviour, and it turns out that the University of Michigan School of Public Health conducted an 8-year research on this topic, and they found that if you had sustained a head injury as a child, you were more likely to commit violent crimes, which I found pretty interesting. Anyway, back to the story. So Ken dropped out of school in 8th grade and he is said to have been illiterate. Instead of trying to find a stable job, Ken started hunting raccoons, which then escalated into petty crimes. Ken would start to steal various things such as grain, alcohol, gasoline, antiques, and even livestock. His lawyer actually estimated that Ken would be arrested an average of 3 times a year. He was also indicted as many as 21 times, and he actually managed to escape all convictions. The fact that he didn't face any punishment meant that Ken was extremely cocky and felt that he was untouchable. It is also said that he would often brag about his lawyer, claiming that his lawyer was so good, no matter what crime he committed, he would never be convicted. So not only did Ken have this amazing lawyer that could get him out of anything, but Ken also took matters into his own hands. It is said that Ken would stalk the witnesses to his crimes and follow and harass them until they refused to testify against him in court. As a result of this, Ken's crimes just kept on escalating and he was accused of assault, which included shooting at least 2 people. Other serious crimes that Ken committed included arson, child molestation, and statutory rape. Ken is also have said to rape 2 young women, and one of them was as young as 12 years old. And apparently he went on to marry these women so that they wouldn't testify in court. I mean, I don't know how that works because rape is rape whether you're married or not, and these were minors. These children were children. They were not adults. They couldn't consent. So it was clearly rape. So I don't know why he thought that marrying them would help his case in any way. It was said that cops actually feared apprehending Ken as he was known to carry around weapons and he wasn't afraid to shoot at cops. Furthermore, the people of Skidmore felt abandoned by the justice system as they never managed to stop Ken from committing these horrible crimes and for never being able to convict him. Ken had a total of 4 marriages and 10 children throughout his lifetime, and throughout all of these marriages he was accused of domestic violence. However, 2 of the wives went on to claim that Ken treated them well and didn't abuse them. Again, I'm not here to cast my judgment and opinions, but I just want to note that it's extremely common for people in an abusive relationship to deny what's going on. Quite often, victims of abuse will retract their statements because they are simply terrified of the abuser. Now, we all know Ken is a big, scary guy. He would stalk witnesses of his crimes and also commit some really horrific crimes. So maybe there was abuse going on in his relationships, but his victims were simply too scared to report it. One of his wives was Trina McLeod, and she was Ken's 4th wife. The relationship started when Trina was just 14 years old, meaning that Ken had raped her when she was around that age. Because remember, Ken would marry the victims that he would rape, which is disgusting. Yeah. At that time, Ken was still married to his 3rd wife, Alice Woods. Regardless of this, he moved in with Trina into the house that he shared with Alice. Ken then divorced Alice and married Trina to escape charges of statutory rape, which again, I still don't understand. I just don't get it. Anyway, the 2 of them then went on to have a child together around the time when she was just 14 years old. However, it wasn't long until Trina attempted to escape the relationship and she left to go to her parents. Now, I don't know if Trina took the baby with her or if the baby was I can't speak today. Or if the baby was left in the care of Ken. Unfortunately, I couldn't find that out. As you can imagine, Ken was not happy with Trina leaving, and as a result of this, Ken went to Trina's parents' house and allegedly burnt the house down and shot the family dog. In June 1973, Ken was indicted for arson, assault, and statutory rape. He was arrested, booked in, and eventually released on a $2,500 bail. Both Trina and her child were placed in foster care because remember, Trina is still a child at this point. She is just 14 years old, and Ken would have been around 39 years old at this time, which I said I'm not going to have opinions in this case, but that is just disgusting. Like, that is wrong. That is predatory. Anyway, however, later on in 1981, Trina told People's Magazines that the house fire was just, and I quote, faulty wiring. Now, believe what you want to believe. Like I said, I'm not here to share my opinion on the case because it is controversial, but it does seem like something Ken would do as he was a very violent and hostile man. So it's now July 1976 and Ken is trespassing on a local farmer's land named Romaine Henry. Or is it Henry? I'm not sure. Anyway. It is said that Ken was just randomly shooting his weapons on Romaine's property, and because of this, Romaine decided to confront Ken and told him to leave because he was obviously trespassing and acting in a very dangerous way, like who just goes on someone's land and starts shooting. However, as you can imagine, Ken did not take well to this and he proceeded to shoot Romaine in the stomach twice. Thankfully, however, Romaine actually survived the attack. Ken was charged with assault with intent to kill. Despite Romaine's own word in the case, Ken denied being at the scene. As the case dragged on without a court date, Romaine claimed that Ken parked outside his home at least 100 times. Again, we have seen this behaviour before when he is intimidating witnesses to his crimes and basically stalking and harassing them. During the trial, Romaine's own petty criminal conviction was discovered from 30 years before, and between this and an alibi that Ken was able to rustle up, the town bully was once again acquitted of his crimes. He was acquitted of attempted murder. On April 25th, 1980, at Ernest Bo Bowenkamp's General Store, Ernest's wife asked Ken's 8-year-old daughter to return a piece of candy that she had not paid for. Now, I just want to point out that Ernest was 80 years old at the time of this taking place, and he is just an innocent elderly man. When Ken learned of the incident, he was absolutely furious, not with his daughter for stealing, but with Ernest's wife for daring to ask the child to put the candy back. Ken decided to take matters into his own hands once again, and he started to harass the Bowenkamps, leering at them from his pickup truck whilst parked outside their house, and he would occasionally fire his shotgun into the air as a warning sign of what would happen to them. Things, however, did not settle, and Ken only got more aggressive. Ken approached Ernest on July the 8th, 1980, while Ernest stood on the loading dock behind his store. And Ken actually shot him at close range with a shotgun. Thankfully, Ernest had survived the shooting, but the town was just absolutely fed up with Ken tormenting and harassing the community for so long. Finally, David Baird, the newly appointed prosecuting attorney, managed to get the first ever conviction against Ken in the shooting of Ernest. This was the first time ever that Ken was finally convicted of a crime that he committed. He was convicted on second-degree assault, and the jury set a maximum sentence of 2 years. Ken was quoted saying, "The jury convicted me, and they gave me 2 years, but I'll tell you what, I'll never go to jail. I've been fighting the law since I was 13, and I'm damn near 50. I've been arrested for over 53 felonies, and this is the first one I've ever lost." End quote. However, a judge released him on bond while awaiting appeal. Ken clearly hadn't learned his lesson, and the first thing that he did when he got out of jail was go to the D&G Tavern, which was a local bar, and he went with a rifle and a bayonet attached, and he was making graphic threats about what he would do to Ernest Bowenkamp. This led to several patrons deciding to see what they could legally do to prevent Ken from harming anyone else, and the sheriff actually suggested that they formed a neighbourhood watch. On the morning of July 10th, 1981, as many as 60 townspeople met, including the sheriff and the mayor, at the Legion Hall in the centre of town to discuss how to protect themselves against the town bully Ken. During this meeting, Ken arrived at the D&G Tavern with Trina. As he sat drinking at the bar, word got back to the men at the Legion Hall that he was in town. The sheriff instructed the assembled group not to get in direct confrontation with Ken. The sheriff then left town. The citizens decided to go to the tavern to confront Ken. The bar soon filled to complete capacity. After Ken finished his drinks, he purchased a 6-pack of beer, left the bar, and entered his pickup truck lighting a cigarette. Someone shot at Ken whilst he was sitting in his truck. He was shot several times and hit twice. And it was by 2 different rifles, so it wasn't just one gun, it seemed like it was 2 guns. So does that possibly suggest that it was 2 shooters? Trina jumped out of the truck onto the street and was picked up by a local man named Jack Clement. In all, there were 46 potential witnesses to the shooting, including Trina Mcelroy, who was in the truck when her husband was shot. No one called for an ambulance. Only Trina claimed to identify a gunman. Every other witness either was unable to name the assailant or claimed not to have seen who fired the fatal shots. The only suspect throughout the whole investigation was a man named Del Clement. He was part owner of the D&G Tavern. However, Del denied the charges and there was no other witnesses that came forward. The DA declined to press charges. An extensive federal investigation did not lead to any charges also. One local resident later told investigators when asked what happened, and I quote, "He needed a killing," end quote. Furthermore, Cheryl Houston, the daughter of one of the Bowenkamps, said, quote, "We were so bitter and angry at the law letting us down that it came to somebody taking matters into their own hands. No one has any idea what a nightmare we lived." End quote. So one of the theories of the case is that the murder was planned in the town hall meeting and that the people that lived in the town were just so fed up of Ken bullying them that they decided to take the law into their own hands and act as a vigilante. However, Harry McLean, who wrote a book about the case, stated, "I personally believe it's a mistake to put too much emphasis on who pulled the trigger," end quote. And he also believes that the killing was not planned. He instead states that someone took an impulsive decision to kill Ken in the heat of the moment, and that the town stood by them in solidarity with their complicit silence. So, as no one was ever indicted for the murder of Ken, Trina was not happy about this, and she went on to file a $6 million wrongful lawsuit against the mayor, the sheriff, and the town of Skidmore, as well as Norriday County and Del Clement. However, the case settled for $17,600. After the murder and the lawsuit, Trina moved to another town, remarried, and passed away in 2012 on her 55th birthday. And that is the end of today's case. Like I said at the beginning, it's a very controversial case because obviously you've got a town bully that got murdered. So the question on people's minds is, did he deserve it? Obviously, I'm not going to answer that question for you guys. That's for you to decide. Do you think that killing is always wrong, or do you think in the case of Ken that it was justified? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm sorry that today's case was a shorter one. I found that when I was researching unsolved cases, this was quite often the case because obviously there's no suspects, so you don't get any reasoning or anything like that. It's all a big mystery. So yeah, it was a shorter one today, but thank you for listening and joining me on today's episode anyway. Make sure to leave me case suggestions in the comments if there is a specific case that you want me to cover. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button as I'm here for you guys every Wednesday. I hope you have a great rest of the day and I will see you all in next week's video. Bye guys!